Welcome to our final main event of this quarter. We are so excited to learn from some amazing educators today about how they are using arts integration in their classrooms. But I want to kind of get some of the housekeeping stuff out of the way at the beginning so that we can spend a lot of time listening and learning and hopefully collaborating and talking throughout the rest of the time. Just to put it on your radar, main events are going to look a little bit different next year. We are hoping to do more of a curated season to growing our community of arts integration educators and learners. So these are our dates. We're also going to shift to a new time next year at 5:30 p.m. We did a little survey and found that might be a little bit easier to get home from after school. If you need a certificate, a kit for continuing ed, please shoot me an email. You can see it there on the screen. And I will be happy to deliver that to you at the end of our session. As always, we like to build a brave space here while we're together, encouraging you to be present. For some of you, I know for me, this is the last week of school, so it is madness, craziness, everything. If it is your last week or second to last week, you're so close, you can do this. And thank you so much for taking time to join us. But I know there's a lot of things on our mind right now. So just for this next hour, if we can be present within this community, be open to what you might hear. You never know where that little nugget of new information is going to come from, or that new spark of inspiration will come from. And as always, we encourage you to engage in a way that makes you feel the safest and the most brave, whether that is unmuting and talking out with us, utilizing our chat option, or sending a direct message to me and then letting me share out on your behalf. So I'm excited to have us all together here today for this final session. Today, we're going to hear from 5 amazing teachers who are practicing arts integration strategies. And they are all teacher leaders in the Kansas City, Missouri Kennedy Center Partners in Education program. They really understand the value and importance of teaching through the arts, and we're going to hear that through their little mini presentations today. And it really aligns with Missouri Alliance for Arts Education as well, because we believe, an arts-centered education draws on that natural human inclination for artistic expression and increases engagement and really provides lots of different access points to academic content for all of our learners. So we really want you to kind of keep that in mind as you're listening in to our presenters today. We have, like I said, 5 different people here. And just for the flow of our session today, I will introduce each presenter and then give them a few minutes to share their experiences teaching through the arts this year. And then at the end of all the sessions, we will have some time to really kind of collaborate, talk, ask questions, get feedback, kind of problem solve anything that you might be struggling with in your school or your district. Those little pieces of inspiration you got, all those things, we'll have some time at the end to chat. So I'm going to start by sending it to Jen Short. So Jen is, she started her teaching career as a studio and outreach teacher at the Nelson Atkins Museum of Art, working with underserved populations in the Kansas City region. For the past 13 years, she's worked in the Center School District at both the middle and elementary levels as an art specialist. Along with her interest in arts integration as a teacher leader, Jennifer is both Trauma Smart and Rester Ed trainer for her district. So Jen?
Hi, good afternoon. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. I had a little bit of a blip with my Zoom application, so I just want to make sure everybody could see and hear me. So basically what I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about, obviously, is the teacher leader experience, which has been amazing, but also like being a teacher who is in the arts and like getting more impassioned about arts integration and getting beyond that. So like Lauren just said, I have a background in museum ed, and I worked with a lot of underserved populations in Kansas City. and then started teaching in the Center School District. And if you're not familiar with Center School District, we're an urban school district in Kansas City, Missouri. But we're very, very, very small. And a lot of my students are ELL students, and they also come from highly I would say very traumatized backgrounds and very transient. So I know that's my calling and my background and everything like that. So this year, when I was asked to join a Kansas City teacher leadership program with the Kennedy Center, it was one of those things that I was just happy to glean any information I can get from other specialists and classroom teachers about what they're doing with their students, and also maybe bridge a connection from my district as well. What I didn't expect, which was one of the beautiful like cherries of doing a professional development program where you have and are working with working artists, is a connection with actors. So one of the programs that we did was something called Acting Right. And what that is, especially for anybody who's passionate like I am about behaviors and helping students work through behaviors, is a program that was initiated by a individual named Sean Lane about how to get students to understand accountability in the classroom, but also how do you teach them behavior? Well, you have to teach them through movement. And so it's called the Acting Toolkit or Acting Toolbox. And so we had this great professional development. We also had an online course. And what I found doing this program this year was the connections I could make utilizing the acting process and actors process in the studio art room. And I utilized it with my kindergartners and also with a medium group of third graders. And a lot of these students come in, they're here for 3 weeks, they disappear for 6 weeks. They move in and out of the district. But one of the key things that we found working also with the mentor program, which is wonderful as part of this program as well, that the skill sets can be unilateral. You're teaching a child or a group of children how to be okay, how to at least understand what okay looks like in an environment where they can be supported, and also under the tenet of focus. And the skills of an actor, sometimes they have to fake in order to believe it, right? Like if you're not feeling great, put a smile on. Those, like, I guess the term like techniques or exercises that were taught from these actors and acting coaches and individuals just work so well in my classroom. And I'm excited that it works, or hoping that it will work further on in the other things that I do with my classroom and also school and within my district. So I just have kind of a different lens on that, maybe coming from an arts background, but it's just so great to understand like arts are universal, and you can glean so much from individuals who are willing to take you on and take the seriousness of what you want to do with the children. So that's basically what I wanted to talk about. I don't know if anybody has any questions now, but I know we mentioned we would add them to the end of the presentation as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Amazing. And I don't know how many people here have experienced the Acting Right workshop or training before. Yeah, it is definitely something that is well worth your time. And similarly, I did it many, many years ago, and it totally transformed my classroom as well. So I'm glad you got a great experience with that. Next up, we have Dana Ross. She's taught elementary music for 30 years and currently works at Epic Elementary and Liberty School District in Missouri. She also began working as an arts integration specialist 8 years ago. Her goal is for all students to find their lifelong fine art passion. And I think I have some slides for you, so let me go ahead and pull those up.
So can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that one of the things that as a music specialist I get to do is collaborate with my teachers at Epic, and we do a lot of project-based learning. And so a lot of the times, whatever they are learning, we are then tying it into their music program. And a lot of times, like this particular one was fourth grade, and they studied ecosystems and natural disasters and weather was kind of part of this. And it was also um, uh, our definitive, what would you call that? Just combination program, where I said in the inside of the program that tonight's performance was created to share what the students have learned through music, storytelling, and movement. And so again, just trying to create programs where the kids can share their learning in front of their parents and through all these different art forms. So it was just, we do that a lot in kindergarten. We do a project-based learning where they're talking about, like in the spring right now, all the bees and the pollinators and the bugs and the worms. And then we do this whole big presentation for the parents where the kids go up and they're doing reader's theater and doing little dramatic plays about all that they've learned. So again, just always tying in music programs to what they're learning in the classroom. And so if we move on to the next slide, let's see. This is something that I have learned in the workshops, and that is how to teach Tableau. And so what we do in Liberty is, if anybody in the district wants to have arts integration specialists come in, they click on a form on our main website, and it's called Spark the Arts. And me and another man named Mr. Brown, who's an art teacher, are the arts integration specialists. And we head up a team where we do immersion days. And we have high schoolers that are in debate, theater, and they and we to come in and do a workshop. So every half an hour, we rotate around, and the kids learn Tableau. They do improv, reader's theater, and then they do clips, which is what we use for Apple. It's like 2-minute clips. It's like video production. And then the kids also do, the high schoolers do improv. And so these kids are just rotating around. And one of the things that I feel really strong about is Tableau you can utilize in anything. So as long as you teach them this basic parameter of how to do Tableau, they can create a Tableau, a frozen picture of the water cycle, or they can then, like one of the teachers needed some information on like Native Americans. And so we were like representing like book covers of Native American books that they were looking at, of their different habitats. And then we were recreating them in tableaus. And again, it's just making that information deeper. And Tableau is one way that you can always have them share it without necessarily using words, because Tableau is a frozen picture. I don't know if you saw that on there, but it's just a great dramatic tool. And then the only other thing I was going to mention was that we did several of these immersion days. We did it at 3 different schools, and we did them for 2nd grade, and then we did it for 4th grade. And then the teachers then utilized all those skills that they had been learning through that. And then I was just going to mention that on the next slide, one thing that we do in 2nd grade is they always study landforms. So me and another music teacher created these little examples of ways to remember the definitions. And so anyway, this is just one example, the island. You can see how that would be like wrapped. Island, rest, rest. Island, rest, rest. Piece of land surrounded by water on all sides. And the kids keep doing it, and they even doing it around. And if you go to the next slide, there's another example, and we have little recorded examples of that. And I just gave you a couple different examples if you want to keep going through the slide. So that's just one way that we kind of tried to tie in the music and in the classroom, what they were learning in the classroom. So these are just kind of fun examples. Here is Mr. Brown working with video production clips with some fourth graders, where they were studying natural disasters and weather. And so on the Clips app, there's all these little emojis that you can use that show like a tsunami or an eruption of a volcano or whatever. And the kids were able to record themselves describing some of these different natural disasters. And so anyway, it was a way to share their understanding, but actually do it through video production. So, and I think yeah, there's just another example of Tableau. I thought that was kind of cute to share. Even second graders, creating this scene. And I believe this is one of the Native American scenes that they were trying to do with, you can kind of see, it looks like the buffalo and all that. Anyway, it's just such a cute example of how they can express and show their teacher their learning. And the last thing I was going to share, if I don't think there's any more slides, was that as an arts integration specialist, Mr. Aaron Money, our fine arts director, has tasked us to start making a binder that has all the grade levels standards that they're going to be teaching that year. And then we're trying to get some examples that would also be in that booklet of what has been successful arts integration examples that we've done in the past that line up with those certain standards. And so once I get that getting a little bit more developed, I definitely want to share it out with all the teacher leaders, because I think that would be really helpful. Don't you agree? Yeah. So anyway, any questions, or that's pretty much it.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I think anytime you can have that resource of like, I'm interested in doing arts integration, but I don't know where to start. And then it's like, oh, well, we've already done it. Here it is for you. Like, that is just such a helpful thing. I love Tableau and how you're utilizing that. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right. Next up, we have Carolyn Folk. She's been teaching middle school for 22 years, mostly in Liberty, Missouri. She's taught social studies, English, language arts, and special education classes. Currently, she co-teaches humanities with 8th graders. She first became involved with arts integration through having artists work with her students. Last year, she attended the Kansas City, Missouri Partners in Education Symposium, Arts Integration Symposium, and she's now finding ways to integrate the arts as often as possible. So I've got some slides for you.
Okay. My Wi-Fi has been a little wonky, so hopefully that won't happen here. I made 5 slides that represent 5 things that I've done over the course of time. You've already heard about acting, right? That's what's going on in this slide. So you can go on to the next one. When I signed up for the symposium, I saw that I was going to do shadow puppets, and it was not high on my list of things I thought I would enjoy doing, but it was one of the best things I did. My kids this year were assigned to small groups, and I don't have a video, but there you can see we did the story of Harriet Tubman, and Daniel, who was the instructor, helped me create a set of 9 different scenes that the kids created and told the story. And it was a really effective way to get them immersed in the story. They had to write their own script and then create their own puppets. So you can go to the next one. This is really how I started into this whole arts integration thing with Liberty. These are what we call symbolic portraits. And this year, our school is 100 years old. So in the past, when I've done changemaker portraits that were symbolic, I've done things like Frederick Douglass or, famous people that we all would recognize names for. But this year, because it was our building's 100th anniversary, we chose to do people who came from Liberty. And so the man on the left was the principal of the segregated school in Liberty. Then the 2 portraits in the middle are Mary Pritchard, and she and her husband John started the Kansas City Habitat for Humanity program in the whole area. And then one of my favorite things about it is that we had an anniversary party at school, and this is a woman who, that's her portrait. So she had taught at our school some years ago. She's in her 90s. She's retired, obviously, but it was really neat that she got to come and see her own portrait. And so the kids do research on the different person that they're going to choose. And then everything in the portrait is supposed to be symbolic. It's not supposed to really look like the person. Although they do, but you know, eyes are for something else or whatever. So that is where I started kind of into this whole thing. You want to go to the next one? This year we went to paper sculpture with, I can't remember her name. Somebody else can help me. Kay Thomas, right? And that was fabulous. And I came back from that workshop, and my co-teacher, who's the ELA teacher in the room, we're actually both certified in both subjects. But when I told her what we'd done at the workshop, she said, let's do that with poetry. So the kids picked, they had a variety of poems that we'd already been working with. They picked a poem, what's the theme of the poem, make a sculpture that represents it, and then write about it. Every time we do something, they have to do an artist statement that we put beside the art. So that was that one. And then the last one I did with Garrett, and it is Catalyst Comics, where we did this at the very end of the year, like the last 2 weeks, where we talked about what are comics, what's called, reviewed cause and effect and all that. And I couldn't find my favorite one because my room is being renovated. And so I packed everything up, but I did find this one about Beyonce, excuse me, about Beyonce being a catalyst. And so the students created these with Garrett's help, Garrett's direction, I guess I should say, about how we would set them up. And then they created their own. So that's the end of my slides. So I would also say that the Kennedy Center, the program in the summer has really improved my teaching. I've always believed that the arts were a literacy, but this just makes it more so. And I've got 2 teachers from my school signed up for the summer. So excited about that.
Yay, I think I've recruited 2 for my school too. So let's keep it going.
That's right.
Thanks, Carolyn. That was like a beautiful representation of all the different access points for students within the arts. So thanks for sharing all those strategies with us. Next up, we have Graceful Rose is a K-8 gifted teacher in North Callaway R1 schools in Kingdom City, Missouri. This is her 2nd year teaching gifted and her 13th year teaching overall. Before teaching gifted education, Grace taught elementary general music. Grace is a current teacher leader with the Kansas City, Missouri Kennedy Center Partners in Education, a Mizzou graduate, go Tigers, and lives in Columbia, Missouri. So I'm going to switch over to get Grace's slides up.
So today, I kind of went in the same line as Carolyn. I wanted to show you some of the things we did this year in my classroom. We're a very small district and the gifted program is pretty small. So my classes are also very small. And so all of the arts integration lessons that we learned in training just lent themselves extremely well to the gifted classroom. So I'm excited to show you what we did this year. So the first thing we did was some reading portraits things. The students kind of learned some different elements of art to look for and then used it to interpret artwork. And we focused on some artwork about deforestation. And you can see here in the picture, they ask you some questions about what you're thinking and feeling. We did this with some illustrated children's books, and then we moved on to deforestation artwork, and then read some scientific articles about it and kind of delved into that topic. And it was really fun. It was successful with elementary and middle school gifted, and they I think what I liked best about this was that they did such a wonderful job of expressing how they were feeling, which isn't totally what I expected. But they were just so well spoken when they were saying, you know, this is making me feel this way because of this thing, and not afraid to express it. And I think that was rewarding for me as a teacher to see them in that element growing. And we can move on to the next slide for the next activity we tried. We also did comic books. I think this was a big hit. I don't know about anyone else's students, but mine comic books are very popular. Students are so familiar with them. They don't need a ton of like, this is what a comic book is and what they look like. They've read a ton. They know lots of different styles and how they usually look. So for this one, they got to choose a historical event and then create their 6-page comic book event. And I took a picture of this one student chose Meriwether Lewis, and another one chose the Boston Tea Party. I think they kind of went with what they had remembered learning in class recently and what had fascinated them in their classes. And it was very cool to see what choices students make. And I think gifted students love to make those choices and have those opportunities to guide their own learning. So seeing what they were interested in and a historical event was really cool. Got to know them a little bit better. And we can go to the next one. We did shadow puppetry, and of course I, did not take a picture of them performing because I never have my phone in those moments. But these are some of the puppets they made. I think this one was from like a space mission show, but we did kind of a guided script first, based on the mission to Mars unit we've been studying. And then they got to branch off and write their own scripts about whatever they wanted, and when I do this again, I think I'll have some more parameters, but I kind of let them fly on this one and it got interesting. But they had to work in groups, which is a huge thing of collaborating together to make your artwork is huge. And practice their comedic writing and comedic timing, and it was a fun time. They did a really nice job. And it was, I'm on Carolyn's boat. When I went into this training over the summer in the symposium, I was not feeling it. I was like, I have no interest in shadow puppets. And then I came out and was like, that was so cool. I cannot wait to try this. So I was wrong with my attitude. So if you're hesitant about any sort of arts integration, like this is weird, don't be. Keep an open mind because it's all really cool. And we can go on to the next slide. In conclusion, all of the lessons I tried, and I know I'm working with a very select group of students, they were just really fun. They were super engaged. I could make it as hard as it needed to be for them. I could take away guidance when I wanted them to have a little bit more of a challenge. I could add some more structure if I wanted to see a certain thing expressed or a certain skill. And it just worked so well with my gifted students because they got to make those choices and they got to take this initiative, and they would just hit the ground running every time. And it was really cool to see them so excited about those opportunities to be expressive. So just across the board, it was such a great experience in my classroom and also in the trainings, going to the in-person trainings and the online trainings. I just learned so much, and just walking away every time with like, I physically have something in my hands that I can go and try like next week if I wanted to, was just amazing. It's always good to leave PD feeling like you know what to go do. So it was a great experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks for like the vulnerability of like recognizing that it might not be your cup of tea, but still giving it a try and a shot, and then having it be such a successful moment. Because I think a lot of times that's something that holds us back as educators too, is being like, oh, I can't do shadow puppets, or I can't sing, or I can't draw. So what's the point of me doing this? But then I feel like consistently with everybody that shares so far, there's just that aha moment with students. And then the teachers are always like, oh, I see now. So thanks for sharing that vulnerability with us. All right, friends, we've got one more presenter, and then we'll have lots of time to just kind of chat as a community of arts integration practitioners and reflect on our years together and ask questions to our teacher leaders here. Last but not least, we have Stephanie Cohen, who is a third grade teacher at Neiman Elementary in Shawnee Mission School District. She has taught first through fifth grades as well as preschool. She has been a teacher leader for the past 4 years and has been involved with the arts integration education, incorporating it across all grade levels.
Hi, everybody. I feel like this is show and tell. It's kind of fun. I don't have any slides about the acting right or videos, but I do incorporate that every day. It's how we start our morning with morning meeting. And then at least once or twice a week, we'll do a tableau and just to kind of have the kids refresh memory from their learning from the previous day. And this particular week, we were reading a story about different landforms and deserts in particular. So if you want to play the video. I don't know if the sound is going to work.
Lauren, why don't you stop sharing and reshare with the sound choice? I think it's optimized for sharing. There's a check mark on the side of the share screen.
It's taking me back to COVID year. So all the students were broken up into groups and were to create something that they would find in a desert. So this group is creating a cactus using all three.
I'll try again. Tell me if you can hear.
That's fine. And then these kids were, they made the pyramids in Egypt, which I thought was pretty cool. And it's very quick, it's low pressure. The kids always enjoy doing it. And it connects to the acting right training where the students have to cooperate. And it's been it's a hit every time we do it. You want to go to the next slide? These students are actually from last year, but I had a teacher, I guess a teacher leader from the KS, help me out with the young actors audience. I forget, KCAY.
KCYA, Kansas City Young Audiences.
Thank you. So he came in and over the course of 6 weeks, 1 day a week or for an hour or so, we started with this story and it was basically the tableau, but in parts. So the kids were focused on the story elements, the plot, the beginning, the middle, and the end. They started with voice or without voice, just gesture. And then we added sound effects and words. So over the course of the 6 weeks, that was another big hit. I don't know if that will play.
Okay, I just changed the settings, so let's, fingers crossed.
Title again.
The Vanilla Castle.
Action. That was the beginning of the story. The girl's wearing a backpack, knocking on the door. the middle of the story. They're knocking on the door of the castle. And the end of the story has something to do with the big tree.
The end.
And then there's
Again.
so that was fun. This one we were learning about the different deserts in the world. And so the students were tasked with coming up with a tableau it was like a talking tableau. So they each were responsible for saying one fact about the desert. If you want to play that one.
The Sahara Desert is the third largest desert in the world. It covers 3 million square miles. In total, it covers 11 countries in Northern Africa. The Sahara Desert is caused by a rain shadow that came from the Atlas Mountains.
So that's, I'm so proud of these kids. They really got into it. They cooperated so nicely together and came up with relevant information and really put a lot of thought into it. I also went to the course that Garrett Brown did with the comic books. So I just kind of threw that in there, that picture to show how to make it. We did that again today. Third graders struggled at first, but now we're catching on. If you want to go on to the next slide. During the solar eclipse last month, when we went outside, I asked the students to just do a quick sketch of what images they saw at particular points. And then we wrote down the times. And so then we came back inside and recreated those phases. So it just kind of shows the sequence. The gold coin there, the plastic coins they use to trace, so they'll have that round shape. So that was another really fun activity. And then we also did a 3-panel comic. So it was cause and effect. So this was the story that the students read about a saguaro cactus and how over the course of 100 years, how it grew. You could see the progression. And the saguaro, and it was really cool because the kids were learning about cactuses. The saguaro cactus relies on the root system of other trees for its water source. You could see the other tree suffers over time. It's kind of shriveling up. So this one we did together, scaffolded. And then on the second page, there was lots of cause and effect elements in the story that we read. So they each picked one that they felt comfortable writing about, drawing. So I don't know if you can read those, but they were really using some good signal words like as a result, because of. So that was really fun. Like, I feel like doing arts integration really takes the pressure off of the teacher and gives it more to the kids to be in control of. Once you teach the skill, then they can just go with it. So it gets a lot easier. I'm not sure what's after that. That's it.
All right, can we have a silent cheer or a round of applause if you're muted or unmuted to all of our presenters today. Thank you guys so much for taking time to share about what you are learning, what your struggles are, what your successes are. And now we've just got we've got like 15 minutes or so to do questions. If there was anything that jumped out at you that you want to kind of go back and ask more about, we've got time. Yeah, Margaret.
I have a question about the Spark the Art. That's something that was just so I understand it, that was something that's available to all teachers in Liberty Public Schools. They just go onto their portal and can you give me more information about that? I think that's awesome.
So if you literally go on our Liberty public schools website. There's all these different departments. And when you click on fine arts, it opens up another menu. And then the Spark the Arts is a portal that takes you where you can put your name, your grade level, your email, and then say specifically, I want to check the box that I want Reader's Theater, Tableau, or maybe I want puppets or whatever it is. And then usually they have some kind of theme or whatever they're studying. And then they type that all in. And then Mr. Brown and I get the info, and then we coordinate it with our fine arts coordinator, what time of year they're going to plan on studying this. And then we try to arrange these immersion days with the high schoolers to come in, teach them the skills that they need. And it's teaching the classroom teacher the skills, but the kids are learning through the high schoolers and the adults. Does that make sense? And then
Yeah, so the workshop is not, or whatever you want to call it. It's for the classroom teacher and you and Garrett Brown, and then high schooler. So the students too, is it like a one-off? I'm sorry, I don't totally get it.
Okay, so there's a workshop rotation.
Workshop. Okay, so like a 1-day workshop.
Right, it's actually just a morning.
A morning. So then you get the skills that then they can implement it in the classroom.
Correct. So they do this rotation, and they did Reader's Theater, they do improv, they do Tableau with me, they do clips or video production with Mr. Brown. So they get to go through this in groups of, let's say, 20 kids. And then they all get them. And then a lot of the material that we're utilizing is whatever their theme is, whether it's natural disasters or whatever it is. So then the classroom teacher takes off and utilizes all these skills in the classroom. Because that's the whole thing about arts integration is, we're kind of one and done when we do those immersion days. It's the classroom teacher that has the time to continue on. It sounds like Stephanie is a good example of how that happens, and you just start utilizing it all the time, right? Because you do Tableau all the time. And anyway, I hope that's clear enough now.
Thank you.
Sure.
And I'll just tag onto that briefly, Margaret. Liberty is especially rich in its arts integration support because it's part of their pillars of what they believe about arts education. And because Dana and her counterpart Garrett are employed by the district as not only teachers of visual art and music, but as arts integration specialists, it allows them the opportunity to provide that on-site professional learning.
That's wonderful.
And the one thing you probably don't know is I only teach part-time at Epic Elementary because we only have 300 kids. And so I have days available in the week to go out and do this work. And if I didn't, I would just be a part-time music teacher. But Erin has allowed me to have a full-time job because you have to have the time and, to go out and work with other teachers. It's pretty special.
And it's part of their investment in arts integration because they want it to be more proliferated across the district. I had a question for Grace, if that's okay, Lauren.
Yeah, it is an open floor.
Thanks. I was particularly excited when I learned that you were working with students who were identified as gifted, and that some of the activities that you were engaging were particularly well received. When I've spoken with other gifted educator counterpart folks, they're saying risk taking for their kiddos is a challenge. There are hesitancies about getting the answer wrong, and also some challenges in working with others. And I'd love it if you could share, Grace, how your experience with arts integration has benefited your students, or if maybe it's just those people I've talked to, maybe those aren't typical for your kids, that they have those challenges both socially and with performance anxiety or perfectionism, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think is really important about establishing the gifted classroom culture is that you have to make it okay to mess up. And gifted students can be perfectionists and used to being right a lot and things being really easy. And they enter that space and some things aren't so easy and they're getting pushed a lot harder. But they know that it's okay to make those mistakes and that it's a safe space. And there was no hesitation on their part to work together and take risks with whatever they were doing, be it the shadow puppets or their comic books or things like that. I don't know if I just have a really great group or if the couple years I've spent like establishing that culture has really paid off. But either way, there was no hesitation. There was no like, oh, I'm afraid of looking silly or it not being right, or is this okay? They just went for it.
And they ended up actually embracing it. That's great to hear. I'd love to draw attention to the chat. Lauren, did you want to talk about both what you wrote and what Megan?
Sure. Yeah. So Lee had asked, where she can find specific resources or webinars for people that are seeking more information on arts integration. Our website is a great place to go, and I've linked that in there. We do a lot of work with arts across the curriculum in the state of Missouri. Cynthia and I work really hard to help get teaching artists into schools across the state of Missouri through our ACE program. And maybe Cynthia, you can drop that in the chat for me. That'd be really helpful. Additionally, a lot of the arts integration base comes from the Kennedy Center in DC, and a lot of the work that is done through the Kansas City, Missouri Partners in Education program is with Focus 5, who is a group of, two main people, Sean Lane and Melanie Rick, who started this great structure of arts integration resources across the country, really, at this point. But they originated at the Kennedy Center, and that website, which I've also linked there, has a lot of resources that are already made lessons broken up by grade level, also different art types. So if you're feeling really comfortable with drama and you want to start there just to get your feet wet, that's a great place to kind of like look through lessons that are already made and just try it. I think the biggest thing with arts integration is just being ready to take a risk and know that it's probably not going to be beautiful and pretty and amazing and wonderful the first time, but the more comfortable you get with it, the more comfortable your students get with it. And like a lot of these teacher leaders have mentioned, it kind of, once you start building those routines and those structures, it takes the pressure off of you and kind of puts it on the students to come in and find their understanding of learning and being able to express it in a multitude of different ways. I know, Megan, I know you're here representing Kansas City. Do you want to chat quickly about your program as well?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. So for those of you who I've not met, I'm Megan Rossbury. I work in performing arts education at the Midwest Trust Center at Johnson County Community College, which is on the Kansas side, but only a few miles from our state line. And it's one of the 4 organizations in this Kansas, Missouri Kennedy Center Partners in Education team, also known as KCPI, because that's a mouthful. So yes, in addition to that summer symposium, we also have professional development throughout the year. I know not everybody is maybe close to the Kansas City metro area, but those are times where we bring in a Kennedy Center artist or some kind of consultant to lead sessions. They're usually 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. on like a Wednesday or Thursday. So an after school is the idea. Always free, always includes a meal, and you can contact me if you want to be added to our email blast to alert when one of those sessions are coming up. We haven't quite finalized the schedule for the 24-25 school year, but usually we have at least one grading quarter roughly is what we aim for. And I also want to be clear that even though we work with the teacher leaders, and of course we encourage the teacher leaders to come to all those events, the events are generally open to the public. So don't be afraid. If you're not a teacher leader, you are definitely still included, and we'd love to have you.
And just to tag team, since we do have a lot of teacher leaders here, this is a resource available for everybody as well. Like I said, the structure is going to change a little bit next year. But really our big picture goal is just to build a community of educators who are passionate about arts integration and share the work and, you know, get more kids involved in learning through the arts. So, yeah. If there are any other questions or comments before we kind of wrap things up here?
So some of the work that we do with the Art-Centered Education program is to partner with school districts throughout the state of Missouri to bring arts integration into school districts that may not be able to do otherwise. And we're able to do this at no cost to the school district. Rachel Jamison on our call here today is one of our teaching artists, and she is working with two different schools, Shook Elementary and Marshfield, and Jarrett Middle School in Springfield. And she also utilizes tableaus. So I was really interested in seeing that today. And so if you're in a school district or in a school where you'd like to bring in more arts integration, please contact us. I did put that link in the chat.
Right. Yeah, or if you have colleagues in schools nearby that are interested, let them know as well. Well, I'm going to drop one final thing in the chat. It's just a quick little survey that gives us a little bit of feedback on our session today and how we can improve things for everybody in the future. If you've already wrapped up your year, congratulations. If you're almost there, you got this. And we will see you guys next year in September at a new 5:30 start time. Thank you so much.